Hello, I am Lily. I work for Come Play With Me. I'm also in a band called Sunflower Thieves. And yeah, we're going to have a little chat about the music industry and what we do and stuff like that. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Nicole, also known as NikNak. Pronouns are she, her, they. I am Leeds-based and do many things, which we'll probably get into, to be fair. But yeah, I do a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, it's nice to be here.
So, this panel kind of conversation is about like building your career in the music industry. I just wanted to know, for you, like, did you know you wanted to be in the music industry from a young age, like when you were at school, or like, when did it start for you?
When I was younger, before I start, let me just say I am neurodivergent. I am dyslexic and I have ADHD. So I'll try not to waffle, although I might. And tangents are my best friend. So school and stuff when I was a lot younger, I just wanted to make beats. I had no idea what that meant. I was kind of introduced to that side of things in secondary school and was more obsessed with pushing buttons and the lights and like, oh, you can make that go there on the screen or whatever. And I was like, I want to do that. I didn't really think of it in terms of industry and career. I just wanted to do more of that. So that kind of developed from secondary school into college, and then college into uni, and then masters.
Yeah, what did you study at school that made you think that?
So I did obviously GCSEs, then I did a BTEC, RIP to BTECs, because that stuff was really dope. A BTEC in music tech. I ended up doing 3 years of college. So I did that in one college, and then I did a creative music producer course at an academy in London. I'm from London, by the way. And then went to uni in Leicester, did music tech and innovation at DMU, stayed there after I graduated, then moved to Leeds in 2016 and did a master's in electronic and computer music. So in short, I am a big sound nerd.
Amazing, yeah. I didn't have music at school in my GCSEs or anything.
Okay.
So, but I learnt like piano and trumpet when I was younger, and then after school I was like, I'd really like to move slowly into more like production and stuff like that, and then I ended up doing music tech at college. Which I didn't even know I wanted to do because I was doing film studies first, and I realised I hated writing about films. I just didn't enjoy that at all. So I switched to music tech, and that's how I went on to do music production at uni. And then I produce my own band now and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like kind of all chance for me to get to that point. But it sounds really like you were so set from the get-go that you knew what you wanted to do with all the buttons.
yeah, with all the buttons. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I wear many hats, as they say, in the industry. Yeah. Like, I produce, I DJ, I compose, I do radio shows. I also put on events. Engineering, I'm forgetting stuff, but yeah, there's many hats, and they all revolve around buttons, or they all revolve around music and sound in some kind of a way. So the fact that it all kind of comes back to the same subject in some form, yeah, I'm really happy about, for sure.
Yeah, that's mint. So when you came out of uni, how did you find like getting work in the areas you wanted to do? Was it like people you knew, or?
I was kind of lucky. What do you mean in terms of DJing?
Yeah,
specific.
Anything.
Yeah, so I was quite lucky with that because my first proper DJ gig, I was working in the bar at the time. So this was in Leicester, and on a Friday night they used to have a hip hop kind of breaks night. And then I went to the DJ and just asked, like, could I have a set one day? And he was like, yeah, sure. I was like, okay, cool. So booked that Friday night off, came and did the set. We went back to back for like 6 hours.
Wow.
And then that led to me not having to work behind the bar anymore. And then I had a DJ residency. And then that was all while studying too. So it kind of went into my studies at the same time.
That's great.
And then, yeah, that soon led to me running events there too, as well as just being a DJ. Just as well as DJing, like, their events, I could put on stuff too. And then that knowledge helped to come over from Leicester and after I'd graduated to when I came to Leeds. And it was like, okay, well, that's there. Like 20 days after I moved to Leeds, I had a gig. And it was like,
wow,
that's weird, but okay. And then, yeah, the word of mouth thing is still a thing. And this is before social media is what it is now. It's not to say that, 2016 wasn't that long ago, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
So
it all kind of like stemmed from a conversation you had with someone that you worked with.
Yeah, and also just like, I was also putting stuff up on like Mixcloud and SoundCloud and kind of was like, I did a mix, hey, let's put it up. And then go back to working in bar or whatever. But like, those conversations do still stem from things, and you can say, oh, I've done this mix, or, somebody played a track of mine somewhere, and, they can check it out. And then that can help them get an idea of what you can do. So if that leads to a gig or if that leads to a radio show or something, it's like, oh, cool, okay.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Yeah, I think I'm a sound engineer as well, like freelance.
Sick. Good.
And that kind of stemmed from like, because I was doing music production at uni, I then was working on the bar at uni, and then one of the tech team saw me and realised that I was doing music production and was like, oh, do you want to come and do some tech stuff as well and do some sound engineering? And I was like, yeah, guess so. Like, just, I feel like at the start you've just got to say yes to as many things as you can to like find your path in the music industry. And yeah, from that friend, I then, like, he told me to go and apply for a job at Stylus to do sound for them in Leeds. And then from that, just reached out to the venues and started doing freelance and stuff like that. But it is completely just putting yourself in that position and, like, go in that direction the way you can.
Absolutely, and I think that's really great, I have to say, because representation has been touched upon on a little bit just now and also in the previous panel, which was so sick. Like, it's really good. I'm really happy to hear that you also do sound engineering, because there's as non-male individuals, there isn't as much representation for us in the more back of house stuff that should be. So the sound engineers, mix engineers in studios, mastering engineers, even like lighting tech and crew and stuff. Like there isn't, and obviously other aspects of the industry too. But the fact that you were like, yeah, I'll give that a go. Like, that's really important, and I'm really glad that you went for it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, there'll be people that will come to an event that you're sound engineering and be like, oh shit.
I could do that.
You could, yeah, I could do that. Yo, it sounded sick. Hey, it sounded sick, She did it. Yeah, okay, cool. I want to do that. And then they'll probably come up to you and go, can I shadow you or something? Like, It's really important. So yeah, that's really good.
We've done quite a lot of that with, like, Through Can Play With Me, like, getting my job there, then, like, started this shadowing scheme, and I've been trying to, make sound engineers more diverse, and like the same with reps as well at
awesome.
venues and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely like massive imposter syndrome when you start out, because yeah, like you say, there isn't enough diversity in those areas. And yeah, as a band member, I actually have never had a female sound engineer or a non-male sound engineer do one of my gigs. So yeah, if it hadn't been for my friend being like, you could do that, I probably wouldn't have known that that was an option. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's so important to like have conversations and like kind of force your way in a little bit and like get rid of the imposter syndrome and just do it. And then you can be the face for other people to, like you say, to be like, oh yeah, I could do that too. It's probably the same with DJing and as well. I'm sure you've had people.
I've had people say some. Can I swear?
I think so. Do what you want.
Okay, gently a bit. Okay. I've had people say some dumb shit. Okay. Some people say some dumb shit while I'm DJing. They've mistaken me for a guy. They've said all kinds of stuff. Or like, I'll have my headphones on and the guy that I'm DJing with, they'll hurl all of the requests to him and be like, "Oh, is your girlfriend DJing? That's so nice." I'm like,
gross. That was horrible.
Bitch. Is that all right?
Yeah, you're allowed.
Okay. Bitch, I'm the one that's actually with the headphones on and I'm concentrating and I can still hear you chatting shit to my mate, but whatever, okay, you're pretty basic. So yeah, I've had to navigate that, and there's times where I still have to, whether it's calling people out on social media for their tokenistic behaviors or, challenging them and them going, oh, actually, it's like, yeah, you're a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to remain teachable. So what was the question? I swore and I forgot. My bad, sorry.
So I was reading your bio earlier.
Oh, yes, it's a big bio.
You've got a lot going on. I just wondered, like, you've had quite a lot of radio play, I've seen, and you are also a radio presenter. Like, how did you go about that? How did you find getting into that side of the industry?
So the first time I had a radio show, I didn't talk on it because I was like, I don't like my voice. And I swear. So I don't want to talk on the radio. And then it was only when I did a show for the BBC. I was there for 2 years on radio leads, kind of trained me up. And then I kind of got more comfortable with talking on the radio and being myself. So that was really random. Like, a producer messaged my Facebook page and I was like, yeah, sure, you're from the BBC. Yeah, okay. Whatever. And then, yeah, a little while later, it was like, we'd like to offer you this show. I was like, oh shit, okay.
Wow.
What?
That's great.
What? Okay, and like, I'm a massive nerd. I'm also like ADHD, so I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I caught myself. Doesn't make any sense. But sure, why not? But that helped to inform me anyway. And then so from that, with that training and kind of interviewing people and stuff, it was like, okay, cool. I've done stuff with Worldwide FM. I've done stuff on like Rinse and a lot of stations, basically, a lot of online stations, doing kind of curated shows or DJ mixes. And I've also produced my own shows too.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's cool. It's been an interesting ride, that particular part of my career thus far, because I never saw that coming. So hence why I was like, wait, what? Who is this person? And why are you talking to me? And you're offering me this job? I don't trust you, but okay.
So do you think that was like from getting your music out there, and is that how they found you?
Yeah, so it's a weird roundabout thing. So a few years ago, I did a gig at the Bradford Literature Festival, and there's a artist called Testament. Shout out to Testament. He was hosting it. I was DJing it. It was at the Alhambra Theatre in Bradford, and like there was a Carla and a Wate and a few and Loki. all performing. It was a great night. And kind of met Testament, chatted to him afterwards, and it was all really cool. Then a few months later, I get this message from this BBC producer, and then I didn't clock until maybe while I was maybe halfway through my stint there. Testament was like, yeah, they asked me who would I recommend, and I recommended you.
Oh, no way.
And I was like,
so nice.
wait, you did what? Testament, you lovely guy, thank you. That's very kind. So he saw something in me.
That's so nice.
You know, as I sit here and I'm waving my hands around, trying not to swear too hard, and just me being myself, and was like, she should do this show. So
Yeah, that's sick.
yeah, that was, yeah. Shout out to Testament, lovely guy.
Amazing.
How are you finding, sorry, because we're in conversation.
Yeah.
How are you finding, because obviously Sunflower Thieves, you're doing bits. How are you finding things? Hopefully I'm not derailing things for you. I'm really sorry. Okay. How are you finding things in production? And because I mean, you said how you've yet to work with a female or non-male sound engineer, but do you take on that role when you're working in the band and saying maybe not that microphone, maybe we should go with this?
Yeah, definitely. Just like it's great to have both perspectives. So like if I am sound engineering, being able to relate to the band on stage is just so nice, and the other way around. I get it quite a lot that when I'm on stage, like sound engineers telling me how to plug my guitar in, or, you know, mansplaining to shit. But yeah, trying to keep a level head, but also try and slyly hint that I know what I'm on about, and it's okay, you can chill out. But yeah, it's always constant battle, and like every venue is different. And you know, look, some venues are better than others, but you've got to deal with it and try and educate as you go along.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Yeah, it's good. So yeah, you TC and the Groove family. You play with them, right?
Yes.
And you're doing really well.
Thank you.
Getting loads of festivals and great shows. What's your involvement in that, and how, like, do you help them find the gigs, or like, you know?
I will say, thankfully, I don't do the finding gig side of it, because I have too many thoughts. So, and there's 11 of us. Yeah. So the amount of logistical mayhem that takes place on the WhatsApp chat just to find out, can we do this gig? Are people free for this? Who's going to drive?
How do you rehearse?
We're not about to stress.
Okay.
We're not going to do... through the power of Grayskull, we rehearse. So in the band, I scratch. I'm a turntablist as well as one of the things, one of the hats. But I scratch. I do backing vocals, and I kind of become the more in-house producer.
Nice.
In that, you know, when we're writing tunes, and if I'm there, because again, I produce for myself as well as with the band, so I'm not always there, but when I am, we all kind of like, you know, give feedback, help to make the tune as best as it possibly can be before we go into the studio with another producer, and then they can take it to a new level, because I've been there, you know, what's the word?
Pre-pro.
Yeah. Like getting it as good as it could be until we get to the studio. Sure. So, I'm kind of like the official, unofficial in-house producer as well. But we all kind of take on that role too, because we all care about the music that we make.
And that's like the best thing about like collaborating. I find, like, I think in the music industry, if you don't collaborate, then you're gonna get lost and taken for granted for. Is that how you say that? Probably not. But
well, yeah, no, I mean, it's important. I mean, it was also touched on in the previous panel about like spaces and creating safe spaces of expression and like actual joy. Whether it's like a party, like rap party, or just whatever it is, like you need to cultivate that. So if you're able to cultivate that, whether it's in a party of some kind, a panel event like this, or a band making music, or you just being in a certain space of mind to then create the music that you want to make, that's all the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's like super important.
Yeah, I find it so in my band, there's me and my friend Amy, we're a duo, and honestly, feel like I'd just be completely lost without her. She's like, I do the production side and we write all the stuff together, and she absolutely loves emails. You need to find someone that likes emails and spreadsheets, because like I honestly would have no clue what to do without her. It's amazing. But like then yeah, we collaborate all the time, songwriting, like write with so many different songwriters, and I feel like it just makes the project better and like just more interesting, because it has loads more ears and voices and stuff in it. And I feel like that's the same with like every bit of the music industry, especially like events as well. I co-promote quite a lot of events with Come Play With Me, and yeah, like I wouldn't know the first thing about putting on a club night, for instance, so we collaborate with people and they make it incredible. And yeah, I just feel like collaboration is probably my best piece of advice for young people in the music industry. Have you got any other advice stuff that you want to share?
I would say know what your capacity is.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very easy to say yes to everything, and then you realize you've not slept in like 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
So, or you've not been on holiday, or you've just constantly been around people, and that can be a very draining experience. Like no matter how much fun you're having, you're still kind of you still need to rest from that.
Definitely.
So yeah, just be mindful of your own capacity. And sometimes I find myself just going, like when I get an offer to do something, it's like, do I have the capacity to do that?
Probably not.
Like, let's look at the calendar, but also, like, legit, can I actually do that? Will the traveling take it out of me and all of this stuff? Like, and then how long will I need afterwards to potentially rest, to get my energy back up? Because, like, as you get older, it's a bit like, woo, let's go. Do I have to rely on coffee more now? And all of this, like, you need to really know what you can and can't do.
Definitely.
And I wish I'd learnt that earlier, because there were things that I definitely could have said no to, and I would have had a more restful period of time.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Although you might not have got all the opportunities that you have got if you didn't say yes loads at the beginning. Well,
I think to a point I agree, but it's also there were ones where it was like I could have just okay, there was one gig in particular where I had a panic attack, and I still did the 6.5 hour set.
Whoa, how the heck did you do that?
See?
That's mental.
See? I should have walked out.
Yeah.
But I pushed through. That is a trigger response that I realized I had.
100%.
So it was like, ha! No.
Yeah.
Never again. So that it shouldn't have to take me having that experience to go, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
So
yeah, timekeeping is a big one, isn't it? And like keeping a calendar that actually makes sense to you, I feel like is really important. Yeah,
and I've realised in the last couple of years that I am neurodivergent, which then helped me realise, oh, okay, this is why I do this and this is why I do this, and I'm still learning that about myself. So it's important to remain teachable about your own self as well, because then you can put those lessons into practice.
Definitely.
Like, yeah. I know, for example, we're talking about time management and calendars. I know, for example, I'm more likely to answer an email between certain times in the day because I'll actually be focused enough to do it. And so, yeah, sure, you'll get that email in that window. If you email me before that, I'm probably asleep. If you email me after that, I'm not working because I've been bad in the past of being like constantly on email, like, yeah. Nick, you're going to go to bed. What is that? Anyway, email. Like, it's just, no, I don't want it. It's having that boundary within myself and then letting other people know, like, just so you know, between the hours of this and this, I will respond. And then you can schedule send your emails. If you don't already do that, start doing that because that's immediately going to help. Yeah, it's already a thing on Gmail. You can just click down on this and it's there. So like, yeah, you don't have to. Hey, Google needs to sponsor me for reals because like that shit has really helped me out. Like you can't. There's a God. This is gonna turn into a lecture. I'm sorry, but like you don't. This weird obsession of like I need to reply right now, otherwise it's not gonna be a thing. Even if it's a no, it's like you can reply when you're ready to reply. Like you might have been just watching Netflix and eating Pringles. Why do you need to respond to that email right away?
Yeah,
just because.
Definitely. It's the same with social media as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can get completely lost in all of that world.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's just time management, collaborate.
Boundaries.
Boundaries, definitely. Yeah, sick. Is there anything else that you want to share with the world? Oh, I've got something actually.
That's a big question. Like, you want to be careful asking me that kind of shit because I would just be like, share this. And it's, So, what would you like to share?
Well, back to like knowing your worth off the last panel.
Yeah.
Sunflower Thieves got offered a festival slot in the Lake District a couple of years ago, and we were like, "Oh, sick! That would be so cute. That would be so nice. We should go." Took 4 or 5 hours to drive there. I was the most hungover I've ever been. It was horrible. And we got there. We played like a 20-minute set, and we got £30 between us. And like we knew that before we went. We knew we were only getting that. But then coming away from it and realizing what a massive waste of everyone's time and energy that was. I'm never doing that again. Absolutely not. You've got to know your worth. Like, if you're being paid £30 to drive that far, do a tiny little set and drive back, don't do it.
I'm sorry you experienced that.
Thanks.
Like, the word that I would like to say, I can't say. That is rude. No. Like, that barely covers your petrol. No, and I can't drive. So I don't know how... Sorry, I caught myself again. Like, that's not going to cover... That doesn't cover your transport, let alone you having some food and drink there. And then... No.
Yeah, it was crazy.
No.
But it was a good experience because I know that we'd never do that again. So you do have to... You do get these things and you do have to learn from them.
How long ago was that?
2021 as well, so it was like just after lockdown. So we were just like trying to do as many things as we could because we'd been stuck inside for a year.
You're better than me, man. I just no, I'm
not anymore. I've learned.
Like no, so somebody last year asked me to do a 2-hour DJ set for their festival for £25.
Oh God, that's insane. That is not okay.
And, they started the email with, "Aye, mate!" Like, with lots of E's on the end.
Oh.
Do you want to do this set for 25?
2 hours?
No.
No. Exactly. Yeah.
No.
No, you were.
No. That's not going to contribute to my rent. That's not going to contribute to the food shop, barely. Like, no. And, respectfully, I've been doing this for a very long time. That is an insult.
Yeah, definitely.
So, no.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I am fairly certain that even when I was starting out, I wouldn't accept that because that's just not.
Yeah, no.
That's not okay. Even if I had a day job and stuff like that, it's like that doesn't feel like it's worthy of my time.
No, definitely.
So
I feel like,
no.
It's hard as a band, like unsigned, DIY band to say, you can't just say no to everything because you have got to put yourself out there sometimes. But yeah, we've been like working on music for over 10 years, and at the start, like our only gigs were like charity gigs, and everything was for free, and it was all exposure, that horrible word that everyone hates. And yeah, it's definitely a thing as you get older and you do like work through that stuff, and you lose a bit of the imposter syndrome, and you know where you like what you need to be paid to drive that far.
Yeah. I mean, there's been times where like, whether it's the imposter syndrome or some other gremlin that comes out of nowhere, it's just like, yeah, but if I was well and truly shit, like legit, if I was well and truly really bad at everything that I know and love, somebody would have told me by now.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't be like, fair, okay, I'll stop. Yeah. I'll go work in an office and pretend I like EastEnders. Like, fine. Like, it's no disrespect to EastEnders, but it's just like, you know, somebody would have told me. So the fact that I've been able to do this for so long and have been able to in studios, words, the caffeine's kicking in, still wear all of these different hats, do these many different jobs and everything else, and still know my worth while I do that at the same time. It's like, well, yeah, you know, I've won an award, mate. Like I know my stuff, and people have been very supportive. I've performed with the orchestra recently and done all of this.
That's incredible.
Like mad crazy shit. That I was just like, it's kind of like, I would love to do this. And then randomly the universe goes, you know that thing that you wanted to do?
Here you go.
It's there now. It's like, sorry.
Close.
Caught myself, sorry. What the shit? There we go. So I think it's, you know, you put out, what you give to yourself, you put out as well, and then that will also come back to you too.
100%.
So, you know, the energy that you put into whatever it is that you want to put it into, that will be reciprocated.
Definitely. And
as we live in a very capitalist and annoying society, it's like, well, yeah, I do have to pay rent, so that's got to contribute to that. Like, or, you know, I would like to have a break. I would like to disappear for a bit and actually have a retreat and just, you know, not talk to anyone and not think about BPMs. Like, you know, I'd like to let me listen to a podcast, or let me listen to an audiobook that doesn't talk about career stuff. Like, let me listen to some fantasy or something. God, you know,
to escape,
I want to, you know, let me watch some X-Men or some shit. Let me just do that, and not, it's nice to come away, because then when you come back, you're refreshed, you have the energy again, you're like, okay, let's go again.
That's amazing that you can do that you're making money so that you can live and be a person as well as just a musician. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
what's that saying about being a plant? Like, we're a more complicated plant because we need sunlight, we need water, and we need the earth. So yeah, we're very complicated plants. So give me more sunlight.
Yeah.
That's what I need. The vitamin D supplements can only go so far. I need actual sunlight. But it's important to have that break. And then again, that comes down to your capacity and your boundaries and that, because that's well important.
Yeah, that's amazing. Cool. We got any questions?
You spoke a lot about, you know, being pioneers of what it is that you do and not seeing much representation of yourselves in the work that you do before you've done it. And I just wanted to ask about when you do have these uncomfortable conversations or situations where people are not respecting what you're pioneering, is there any advice that you have on the best way to go about, you know, kind of telling people to stay in their lane, or, you know, educating people in a way that's not untrue to yourself?
Yes. Dope question, and you were dope on the panel before. Big ups.
Thank you.
Nice glasses. So I experienced this quite recently. So I'm gonna answer your question with an experience that I had and how I handle it. So yeah, a few months ago, me and 3 other turntablists, all women, were interviewed for this article. And it was like, oh, cool, okay, yeah, sure. The article comes out, and I post about it. I tag everybody, because we're all in the article. Other people, well, two of the other turntablists, they posted about it, tagged everybody else. They didn't tag me. Now, I'm a dark-skinned black woman. The other people who were in the article are not. They are other women of color of other origins. But somehow, they just didn't tag me. And so I challenged that. Because it was like, hey, they were like, yeah, look at this article, us three are in. And I'm like, but I'm also in it.
That's crazy.
And I tagged you. So I called them out on it. And one person tried to say that I was being nasty. And I was like, I'm not. Like, you ain't seen nasty. I'm not being nasty. I'm saying you've not tagged me because I'm also in the article. And listen, my level of sarcasm is next level right now. Like I say, I've been DJing over 15 years. You develop a pretty hard skin, like people calling you names and all sorts of stuff. So you get to a level of like, I could be a comedian at this level. So stand by. But it was like, I'm not a nasty person. I'm merely alluding to the fact that you've decided to erase me from this when I'm also in this article. So yeah, one person calls me nasty. Another person goes, oh, maybe they just didn't know who you are, so they didn't know I'm in the same article. What do you mean? That also doesn't line up. So, yeah, I get called out. I'm frustrated, but I'm not swearing at anyone. I'm not calling anyone whatever. I'm just saying, I'm in this article too. I've tagged you. Why aren't you tagging me? So then at one point, they do a new post. Look at all of the women in color of turntablism. They tag me, they tag everybody else. They have not apologized.
That's insane.
So it was like, I'm laughing because I called you out on 2 occasions. You know, I've said, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And you've, instead of holding space and understanding where I'm coming from, because out of the 4 of us, I am the only dark-skinned black woman on here, instead of holding space and understanding why you're erasing me, you're like, you're being nasty. Maybe we didn't know who you were. But look at all the women. But it's like, when you do that, the final post, you're quick to tag me though, innit? Yeah. So it's, people do show you their true colors one way or another. And it can be exhausting sometimes. Sometimes you have time for it. Sometimes you don't. But it's, yeah, at that day I had time. And I was very much like, okay, you've shown me who you are now. Was it Maya Angelou or somebody who said that, like, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time? Yeah. So as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, you can go all the way over there. I don't want to interact with you anymore.
Fair play for calling it out, though.
And like the erasure of black women, especially in electronic music, I think it was touched upon on the previous panel. Like, so much was touched upon on that panel, bruv.
It was so good.
It was so sick. But like the levels of erasure that still happen, particularly in electronic music, and I see it more as a black woman in electronic music, but it happens in other cultures too, obviously, which sucks, but that was a form of erasure, and to have experienced that personally was like, wow, nah, I'm not having it. And I even emailed the person who wrote the article because they were seeing this all unfold. Like, what's going on? This is my article. I was like, look, this is what it is. And he was like, I'm really sorry that you're experiencing that. Like, that's awful. I hope, please know that I love your music and I don't want to. I was like, thank you. Like, you honestly didn't have to say that. I was just emailing you to let you know, to give you my side. I don't know if they've spoken to him, but this is my side. I can only tell you what I've experienced, And he was like, no, I appreciate you telling me, thank you, and I'm really sorry that this has upset you so much. Like, this is, I was like, how is it that the author of the article is giving me more respect than my so-called colleagues?
Yeah.
Wild.
Crazy.
So, if you have time, you have time. And if you don't, then you don't. But again, it comes down to capacity, because that can be very draining for fellow POC, LGBTQIA plus peoples in particular to experience. So if you have time, you have time.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I experienced it from like being a woman on a stage singing or whatever. And when sound engineers, male sound engineers, talk to me like that, I just like kindly try and weave the conversation into proving to them how much I know, which is probably not the right way about it. Probably should call it out.
Everyone responds to those kinds of things in different ways.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so hard when you're like there to do a job and you just want to do it and then get out. I feel like it's so hard to like know how to address things calmly, and then also they then have to do your sound later for the actual gig. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I think it, like I say, it shows you who they are.
Yeah.
It shows you that they, I guarantee these are the same kinds of people that would go on International Women's Day. Oh, I love my mum. You know, my aunt Angela is great. Yeah, I love women. Shout out to Becky at Greg's and what it, like, you know, they're the same people that would be like that. But when it comes to like, you know, away from the trending hashtag of,
yeah,
away from that, then it's like you're not performative. So
yeah. And it's also not our jobs to like educate people.
That's what teachers are for.
Yeah.
You know, and libraries. So yeah, no, I think, you know, people will respond to those kinds of situations in different ways, and everybody's different. Everybody has their own capacities, boundaries, and all the rest of it. Like, you know, like how I would deal with said sound engineer, I'd just be really sarcastic.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, like the kit that I use when I'm with TC or when I'm doing my kind of solo stuff is not complicated, but people look at it like, oh my God, it's a spaceship. And it's like, I've had people, I turned up to an open decks once with my kit, and the guys at the bar just didn't know what to do. So they were like, could you just not play?
What?
Could you just not play? Because we don't know how to plug it in. I was like, no, I know how to plug it in. I'm going to plug it in because I know how to do it.
Weird.
They were so threatened. And it was funny. It was just like, literally, it's 2 wires, dude. It's 2 wires, mate. It's literally 2 wires. But you're so threatened, like, oh no, she's gonna blow the speakers. Sorry.
Oh no.
Sorry. You're gonna. She's gonna blow the speakers, and it's like, I'm not, because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Trust.
you might blow the speakers because you clearly don't know what you're doing. Like, it's 2 cables, dude. So yeah, it's, you know, I would be sarcastic with it. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I saw a post the other day that was like, this girl saying that when people mansplain at her, from now on she's going to be like, talk to them like a little kid, like, that's so kind of you to tell me your opinion. I was like, I'm going to use that. That sounds fun.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Aidan. Any more? Oh, one more down here.
I guess my question is, what advice would you give to someone who is wanting to start out with production? Because I feel like I've always been, you know, I've listened to music a lot, and I'm always like, I would have done this better, or I would have added a kick there, or like, I would have added this extra layer. But you know, how would you go? You know, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start out in production, especially as a neurodivergent person as well?
My heart is full. That's a beautiful question. Thank you. One thing I'd say is don't let the language put you off trying things out. So you almost certainly will have come across lists like the best, I don't know, best microphones to use that every producer should have, and all of this. It's very like, you need to have this thing in order to do the thing. That's complete bullshit. Like, it's very, it's asking you to spend money. Not everybody has that readily to hand and all that kind of stuff. So try not to take on that language so much. And also, you know, your setup will look different from somebody else because you will have found what works for you. You will have found your own kind of workflow and all of this. So don't compare yourself to whoever because, oh, but they've got this, I don't know, they've got the Ableton Push, so I need that. You don't need it, you know? I used to do some teaching for BIM, and yeah, we did a lecture on this basically, and I said that, like, you know, some of the first music that I made, I used to make hip hop. Like, I'm heavily into like my Tribe Called Quest and Bahamadia and all of these people, De La Soul and everything, R.I.P. Dave, and like, I was able to, as best as I could, like, I'm no big shot, but, you know, as best as I could recreate 90s boom bap because I knew what I wanted my stuff to sound like. And obviously, hip-hop is very sample-based, so it's like, oh, okay, let me go dig in for some jazz and try and recreate that. But, like, I didn't have an MPC. I didn't have, like, the KRKs and all of this. I didn't have all of this big fancy equipment. I literally just had my laptop, some headphones, that were maybe, I don't know, £20 out of TK Maxx or some shit, like headphones, and then I would reference the track on bigger speakers so I could hear what it sounds like on bigger speakers, and then that was it. And then, yeah, I played the class my older stuff, and they were like, you made this on headphones? What? It's like, yeah, well, because I knew what I wanted it to sound like. So I didn't buy into this whole, because I mean, at the time as well, I couldn't afford KRKs and all the rest of it. I couldn't afford all of that stuff. So it was like, well, what can I do with what I have? And do I have access to things like, whether it's while I'm studying at uni or whatever, what do I have access to? Maybe I can borrow from a friend or to help me figure that out. So yeah, it's very trial and error. Your sound will change. Like, I make more ambient stuff now, I guess, and more weird shit, but it doesn't mean I won't go back to making hip hop. It's just, this is the place I'm in now. And just try out as much as you can. Like, there's a shop in Leeds called Bop DJ, and you know, it's a very dangerous place because you can just spend the whole day there, look at all of these buttons and colors. It's very fun. But yeah, they've got loads of text set up. So whether you want to just have a play on something and it's like, oh, maybe I could go for something like this, or they have DJ equipment, I could maybe try something on here. Just try stuff out. It doesn't have to be so prescriptive of like, you need this equipment to make this, otherwise you're not. People need to shut up with that, honestly. Like, it's very restricting of creativity to be like, if you don't have this, you can't make this, because that's rubbish. You know, like, I produce, nowadays, most of my music is made via DJ equipment because I scratch, I do sound recordings, and then I turn it into these pieces of music. But it's all done basically on DJ equipment. But I'm still making music. So, yeah, that's what I'd say. Great question.
Amazing. Cool. I think that rounds it up. Lovely.
Are there any more questions? Should I do more sound, the musical do?
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, no, wait. There's one there.
One more.
One more
We've
question.
got one more. Can you pass the mic back?
Do. So I nearly forgot.
Thank you for the amazing panel.
That's okay. Oh, you might need to switch it on.
There we go.
Hey.
Thank you for the amazing panels and all that. My question is basically, it sounds like you have a lot of fun projects going on constantly, it sounds like. How do you time manage and know what to prioritize, what you want to do, basically?
How do I prioritize?
Yeah, no, like what projects do you put more time in for like, you only have 24 hours in a day, so what do you do since you have more stuff going on at once? What do you choose to, how do you choose?
Do you want to go first?
I can go first if you want.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to do, and I'm still trying to work it out. I work 20 hours a week for Come Play With Me, running events like this. And then the rest of my time, I try and finish stuff, which is the most hard thing to do, music-wise. Sighs from the front.
Just like,
but yeah, just like, I guess, prioritize the things that make you happy and stress you out as little as possible. And things that you want to carry on with, like if you work in a bar job that you hate and you get the option to take less hours and you can afford to do that, then do it. Like, don't overwork yourself in things that you don't want to be doing, I guess.
Yeah, I'd say for me, because I'm freelance, so it's helpful knowing when I get some kind of offer, like, you know, is there a certain time frame with this compared to something that's a bit longer to work on? So for example, I did the sound and music for a theatre show in London. So that meant kind of working there for like, say, 2 weeks. But then I also have a project which is going to take me longer to do, but I can drip feed into that because there isn't really a deadline for the longer project at the moment. So it's like I can drip feed into that when I have time, and when there's an idea there that can really sit with that properly, I can go and do that. But for the theatre show, it was like, I need to be here for these 2 weeks, let's call it, to make the thing, get feedback, make tweaks, send it back, and then get all the levels and da-da-da. Like, and it helped to actually be in the space with everybody to like get that feedback immediately. So sometimes it's more immediate, like quite literally in that I have to travel to the place. Sometimes it's like, you have until the end of the month. It's like, okay. And I'm pretty quick, I think anyway, with like getting an idea out. The powers of ADHD. So it's kind of like, the ideas are there. Sometimes it's like, oh, that idea can go for this project. That idea can be here. If it's more specific, it's like, I need to sit down, I don't know, listen to the material, see what comes to me, and then the idea can kind of come out, and that could be done in a day. Depends. It does fluctuate, I will say. Like, it's kind of like, you know, when funding pots kind of announce like, you can apply for this, and the deadline is thing, and then you start thinking, okay, I want to go for that. So I need to answer this question and this question and this question as best as I can and submit it before the deadline. Some projects are like that, in that there's chunks I need to take out to do and then build it all together and then submit it. Like even with the essays and whatever else. So it depends on the project, it depends on the idea. Like, and I do have another job where it is more like, you know, you have to do 5 hours a week. I'm like, oh, that's great. So if I find the time to do that, great. But that again fluctuates too, because if I'm traveling a lot, then I'm going to be exhausted. Like I say, like we're very complicated plants. So it's like, you know, I also need to be watered and fed. So it fluctuates a lot, but it kind of works out as well, because I'm able to look at my calendar and go, this week is looking quite mad, so maybe not so much Netflix. And, you know, I'll have proper meals. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I didn't waffle, did I?
Yeah, no, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Lovely. I think that is everything.